So Realme's 11 Pro and 11 Pro Plus have launched, and there are a lot of similarities between the Pro version and the Pro Plus version this time around. The design, the display, the performance, the software experience, all of that is the same. The only difference is in probably the camera specs and the battery specs. So for the lower price tag, the 11 Pro looks like a more interesting phone, but what's more interesting is that there is a Lava Agni 2 that it has to contend with. So I'm sure you've guessed it already. This is a detailed comparison of both these phones, and I'm certain you also have a lot of confusions. We'll try to fix that for you in this video. Alright, I'm Arshad. You're watching Trakin Tech English, your destination for detailed reviews and comparisons of new gadgets. The good thing about both these phones is they look absolutely stunning. But they're also similar from the back when you especially look at that circular camera cutout that you have. But to be entirely honest, when I hold these phones in the hand, the 11 Pro feels more premium than the Agni 2. Despite the fact that Agni 2 uses glass, the 11 Pro has vegan leather, but the Agni 2's glass actually makes it feel more slippery, where the vegan leather adds more grippiness to your hold. The other reason why I like the in-hand feel of the 11 Pro better is that despite having a slightly larger 5000 mAh battery as opposed to 4700 mAh inside the Agni 2, the 11 Pro is actually thinner and lighter than Lava's phone. Now, while both the phones look attractive, feel premium, and have a great in-hand feel, I still feel that the 11 Pro has a slight advantage here. Now, the premiumness, of course, extends only to the design of the phones. You do not get premium features like IP rating or wireless charging, but in this price category, you should not expect that either. With respect to the ports and buttons situation, it's actually very similar. You get a Type-C port on both. You get a SIM card tray with the support for 2 nano SIM cards. You get a power button on the side, volume rocker right above it, and noise cancelling microphone. All that is there, but there's one feature that is better on the 11 Pro. That is the fact that 11 Pro offers stereo speakers where Lava offers a single mono speaker. I'll talk about the quality later. Another thing is that when you're buying a new phone, you'd probably like a couple of color options extra. That's not available on the Agni 2. This is the only color variant available. On Realme, you have another green color and black color. In fact, the green color looks damn good. This also looks good, but the green color looks very, very good. Actually, that's my favorite. Overall, with respect to design and build, I think the 11 Pro has a slight edge, but it also costs slightly more, so keep that in mind. Not only the design, with respect to the display as well, both these phones are very similar. The Lava Agni 2 has a display size of 6.78 inch. That's why it feels slightly wider compared to the 6.7 inch display size of the Realme 11 Pro. But with respect to the tech specs of both these panels, you get a Full HD Plus resolution and 120Hz refresh rate as well. And both these panels also offer adaptive refresh rate. Basically, it can switch between 60 and 120 depending on whatever content is showing on your screen. Now, while the display specs are similar, what matters is how does it perform in daily life. And when we tested the display, the one thing that clearly what we felt was that Realme 11 Pro actually has far better color accuracy, especially with the fact that you get a professional color tuning, DCI-P3 color tuning as well. Lava, in whichever mode you use it, whether it's natural or vivid, it just cranks up the colors way too much, to the extent that your content really doesn't look very real. So that's where Realme's AMOLED tuning, of course, it's been doing this for a while and it's been doing it much better. So therefore, it is better than the Agni 2. Interestingly, with respect to brightness, both these displays have a same peak brightness of 950 nits. When you're watching HDR content, that definitely does come in handy. With respect to HDR playback, you get HDR playback on YouTube, but not on Netflix on both the phones. Now, what we noticed with HDR playback while we were testing the phones is that the color reproduction again is better on the 11 Pro, but there seems to be some problem with HDR YouTube playback on the 11 Pro. Essentially, 4K HDR playback is smoother on the Agni 2 compared to the stutters that you can see on the 11 Pro. Another very good feature on the 11 Pro is the PWM dimming feature that you get with it. It's also available on the 11 Pro Plus. You get a PWM dimming of 2160 Hz. There are many people in the world who have sensitive eyes, and when they're looking at high refresh rate displays, especially at low brightness settings, they see a lot of flicker, and that flicker affects or strains their eyes. And therefore, the 11 Pro doesn't cause that strain where the Agni 2 does. But there's one advantage on the 11 Pro, and that is the fact that you get short sensation alpha protection on the Agni 2, where there is no display protection on the 11 Pro, or we don't know what it is. And therefore, you get that slight extra peace of mind when you're using the phone and the display. The Agni 2 might be slightly better at scratches and drop protection. Now, since both these phones have OLED panels, you also get an in-display fingerprint scanner, and they work absolutely well, no problem there. But there was one problem that we noticed during our testing, and that is the fact that the Agni 2 actually has terrible mistouch prevention. I've mentioned that in my Agni 2 review already. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. That is not a problem with the 11 Pro. And another problem problem is with the software tuning, the adaptive brightness doesn't work well on the Agni 2. Again, a problem that I'd mentioned in the review, which again is not a problem on the 11 Pro. Having said that, the Agni 2 does snatch in a win in haptic feedback performance. The Agni 2's X-axis vibration motor is actually very well tuned. In fact, it's very well tuned across the system, where even when you press the volume rocker and change the volume, you get that haptic feedback. The tuning is good and even the vibration is precise. On the 11 Pro, unfortunately, like the 11 Pro Plus or the 10 Pro Plus or the 9 Pro Plus, you do not get O haptics, so it's kind of soft. So overall, if you want the more technically accurate display for watching content, then the 11 Pro is perfect for you. But if you want a display that's vibrant, you don't care too much about the colors, but you care more about the glass protection and the haptic feedback, then the Agni 2 is actually better than the 11 Pro. Good job, Lava. Alright, now if you're watching videos, of course you want great audio quality as well. The 11 Pro has stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos support. This has a single speaker with no Dolby Atmos support. And when you listen to them side by side, clearly the 11 Pro is better. And for those who don't use speakers and who like using Bluetooth earphones, then you should know that both LDAC and LHDC high-res codecs are supported by both these phones, so that's a good thing. And if you're somebody like me who likes using wired earphones instead, and I genuinely do use wired earphones more than wireless earphones, then Lava provides a USB Type-C to 3.5mm dongle inside the box. 11 Pro doesn't. Alright, I'm certain that you want to know how do the cameras perform on these phones. But before that, specs first. Well, the Agni 2 has 4 cameras on the rear. You get a 50 megapixel primary camera, 8 megapixel ultra-wide, 2MP macro, 2MP depth. The Realme 11 Pro has only 2 cameras, a 100 megapixel primary camera and a 2 megapixel portrait camera. Well, anyway, on the front you get 32 megapixel camera on the Lava, whereas you get 16MP on the 11 Pro. So of course you've got more cameras on the Agni 2, but which one performs better? Let's get down to that. So in our testing, we noticed that when you take pictures with both the primary cameras in daylight, Realme definitely performs better. You get better detail retention, the dynamic range performance is good too, and the colors seem to be more appealing on the 11 Pro's pictures, which is what Arnav tells me because he has tested the cameras this time around. So if you have a problem with the camera analysis, you know who's neck to catch. Now, when you look at the HDR samples on both these phones, there's a lot of lens flare on Lava Agni 2's sample, and not only that, Lava completely crushes the details in the shadow region. Like for example, take a look at the leaves on the tree. In fact, when you're shooting against the light, the color accuracy is also not maintained in the Agni 2. The color of the wall looks slightly different than what it looked in real life. So when it comes to HDR performance, on the 11 Pro, you get better detail retention, the colors are not affected, and more importantly, you get better details from the highlights and the shadows as well. And that's also true because Realme has been tuning its cameras for a while now. So of course, you'll be shooting a lot of friends and family with these phones. The skin tones are kind of close to natural on the Agni 2, but sometimes it sort of whitens the face, there's a little bit of bloom. But more importantly, what Realme 11 Pro does is that it keeps the skin tones intact in almost every scenario that we've shot, and it looks attractive as well. Plus, the sharpness is better on the 11 Pro compared to the Agni 2. Now, against the light, of course, like I mentioned, HDR performance is better on Realme, and therefore you can notice that Lava has bloom around the face. That's not the case with Realme. And apart from that, Realme also exposes the face light, and it just does a better job of people HDR. But one area where we were actually impressed with the Agni 2's processing is in portrait pictures. It actually does a very good job of edge detection and the kind of bokeh blur that you get on the rear. The 11 Pro is not bad, the Agni 2 is slightly better. Talking about the ultra-wide angle camera, well, you can only talk about one ultra-wide angle camera because that's only there on the Agni 2. The 11 Pro doesn't have it, so that's an advantage. But let it be known that the Agni 2's ultra-wide angle camera is no great shakes. Another advantage on Lava is that you get a macro camera. There's no macro mode either on the 11 Pro. But again, macro performance is not that great. And like I had mentioned, with the Agni 2's ultra-wide, you do not get any HDR processing. And when it comes to selfies, I'm not really surprised when I say this, that Realme is actually better than Lava because you get sharper images for sure, especially when you pixel peep. And apart from that, the facial tones are good as well. The HDR performance on selfies is better on Realme 2 compared to Lava. So overall, when you're looking at selfie camera performance, I think I'll pick Realme over Lava. And I'm saying HDR selfies is better on 11 Pro compared to Agni 2. Also because the Agni 2 doesn't do any HDR processing with the selfie camera, just like it doesn't do anything with the ultra-wide. Moving on to low light shots with the primary camera, the 11 Pro is definitely brighter and it makes the scene look slightly warm, but it picks out more details from the shadows. Comparatively, Lava actually doesn't pick out too many details from the shadows. The exposure is not as good as the 11 Pro and the pictures look very cool as well. Apart from the fact that Lava crushes the shadows, it also adds a lot of green luminance noise in processing, which is not a problem with the 11 Pro. Now, with respect to selfie camera, night mode is not available on Agni 2, whereas it's available on the 11 Pro. So you'll think that the 11 Pro actually takes better looking selfies than the Agni 2 in low light, but both are actually very bad. This 32 megapixel selfie sensor that Realme has used on the 11 Pro and the 11 Pro Plus is not very capable in low light. And anyway, the sensor on the Agni 2 is not too capable either. So if you have to really shoot selfies in low light, I would say don't pick any of these two phones. Now let's talk about video recording quality on both the phones. You can shoot 4K 30 FPS videos, but you get OIS on Realme. Therefore, the stabilization is better than Lava. In fact, the whole video recording quality is entirely better than Lava. Whether it's the details, the colors, the sound recording quality, the HDR performance, it's just leagues better than Lava.
These videos are shot using the Realme 11 Pro and the Lava Agni 2. Both are using its primary camera. These videos are shot using the Realme 11 Pro and the Lava Agni 2. Both are using its primary camera.
Now on Lava, if you want to shoot stabilized videos, you have to switch down to 2K resolution, which is of course not available on the 11 Pro. On the 11 Pro, you get Full HD 30 FPS videos with stabilization possible. Surprisingly, there's no Full HD 60 FPS videos on the 11 Pro. Now you must be wondering, hey, we can shoot videos with the Agni 2's ultra wide angle camera. Well, you can't. Yes, you can't really. Now with respect to selfie videos, you can shoot 1080p 30 FPS using the front camera on both the phones, but Realme's quality is definitely better. Take a look and judge for yourself. So overall, when you look at the camera performance, primary camera in daylight, in HDR, in low light, and the selfie camera in daylight and of course with HDR is definitely better on the 11 Pro, and of course video recording is also better. Agni 2 has more cameras, but the weakest point of this phone is the camera. The 11 Pro does better than the Agni 2 for sure. But if you ask me if the 11 Pro is the best camera phone under rupees 25,000, well, I'll tell you definitely not, because I'm slightly disappointed with this camera as well. Anyway, I hope you guys get the context of what I'm trying to say here. Now, one reason why a lot of you would be confused is because both these phones have the same chipset. That's the Dimensity 7050. Having said that, Realme does one thing better with the 11 Pro and sets itself apart is by offering you UFS 3.1 storage compared to UFS 2.2 on the Agni 2. And of course, storage read-write speeds are higher on the 11 Pro compared to Agni 2. In fact, even Antutu score is higher because you get higher storage scores. But when you look at Geekbench scores, they're very similar. And even the throttling performance is very similar on both the phones. In fact, we played Call of Duty Mobile for long sessions on the Agni 2 and the 11 Pro. Both don't get hot at all. They're stable enough because they don't really push for performance really. The graphics performance is pretty limited, very mid-range kind. Evidently, these are not phones meant for gaming. There are other phones that you can pick for gaming, especially in this price category. You have phones with the Snapdragon 778G, which definitely offer better graphics, and even, of course, the Dimensity 8100 inside the Redmi K50i. But the 7050 is definitely in the top 3 processors. So if you're somebody who uses the phone for daily performance, for regular email or social media, all of that, it works very well on both the phones. In fact, both are very snappy in daily usage. We didn't face any stutters, even with the high refresh rate displays that these two have. So in terms of performance, both are good enough. Now, while performance is good, what about network quality? If you ask me, 5G performance is actually good on both the phones. You get adequate amount of support for 5G bands, and of course, Airtel and Jio 5G work really well on both the phones. In fact, we didn't even face any problems with call connectivity as well. So good job, Lava and Realme. However, when it comes to battery life, we had mentioned this in our review as well. The Agni 2's battery performance on our unit, there seems to be some problem. But generally what we noticed is that you get about 5 to 6 hours of screen on time with the Agni 2 on other Agni reviews that we've seen. But on the 11 Pro, you actually get better battery life. You can expect up to 6 to 7 hours of screen on time on the 11 Pro. So it does last slightly longer. Now with respect to charging speeds, it's 66 watt versus 67 watt. There's just like a 1 watt speed difference. So you can charge the phone from 0 to 100 in about 46 minutes. Alright, coming to the most important point, which will make or break your buying decision, and that's the software experience. Now, both these phones come with Android 13 out of the box and 2 years of software updates and 3 years of security updates promised from both the manufacturers. Now, Lava is unproven with respect to software update cycle. Realme generally meets its promises. But more importantly, Lava's software experience is very clean. You only get 29 apps pre-installed with absolutely zero bloatware, and that's something that I absolutely love the Agni 2 for. With respect to the 11 Pro though, it's a messy situation. Not only are there so many bloatware apps which you can of course uninstall, but there are first party bloatware apps as well, like hot apps, hot games, hot free games, which again you have to go through hoops to actually switch them off. And apart from that, there's personalized search, there's glance integration. I have ranted enough about this. The software experience on a phone that looks this premium is definitely not premium. Realme really needs to fix that problem, and I think I'll pick the Agni 2 over the 11 Pro for software experience, and that's a sentence I thought I'd never say. Now, to conclude this comparison, we need to first talk about the prices. Lava is more affordable for higher storage, 8 to 56 GB, compared to Realme, which offers 8 128 GB at about 24,000 rupees. Now, to keep the costs low, of course, the Agni 2 has had to do some corner cutting. Camera performance is definitely not very good, the display is not tuned very well, and there are a few bugs here and there in the software experience as well. Realme's phone, of course, feels like a phone from a brand that knows what it's been doing for a while, so it's very premium feeling, very premium looking. The display quality is absolutely fantastic. The camera experience, of course, is better than Lava for sure. But what Realme needs to fix is that stupid bloatware and personalized recommendation situation on its phones. Now, if you can live with that, the extra 2000 for the Realme will feel worth it. If you cannot, then you should pick the Lava Agni 2 and maybe place your trust in a new player. Now, if you ask me, pick one phone from these two. It's gonna be a really tough one. I don't know. I'm gonna take my time. Okay, never mind. Let's finish the video here.